At 94, Dorothy can still climb 2 flights of stairs without needing to steady herself. 3 times a week, she hops in her car and drives to the local library, where she volunteers with a smile. Her doctor, who is more than 4 decades younger, often jokes that she's in better shape than he is because her blood pressure is lower than his. What amazes everyone who meets her is that just 9 years ago, Dorothy relied on a walker, took 12 medications daily, and couldn't even open a jar without help. Her remarkable transformation didn't come from costly health programs or intense fitness regimens. Instead, it started with 5 quiet morning habit simple practices that most people have never heard of. These weren't trendy tips from magazines. They were time-tested rituals that Dorothy discovered while learning about people who thrive into their 90s and 100s. The results? So extraordinary that even her physician was taken aback. For much of her life, Dorothy had been a dedicated school teacher, nurturing young minds and building a peaceful life with her husband, Edward. But everything changed when Edward passed away at 82. The grief overwhelmed her. She lost her appetite for cooking, gained 35 pounds, developed type 2 diabetes, and struggled with severe arthritis. At 85, she was weighed down physically and emotionally by medication, pain, and the guilt of feeling like a burden to her adult children. Then came the turning point. One night, she tried to open a jar of pasta sauce and couldn't. Ashamed, she called her neighbor for help. That moment shook her. Lying awake in bed, she knew she couldn't continue down that path. Something had to change. Dorothy began exploring the daily routines of elders who had managed to remain strong and independent well into their later years. What she found didn't involve fancy diets or gyms. It was a set of simple, everyday actions that made a profound difference. Within months, her A1C dropped from 8.2 to a healthy 5.9. She lost 35 pounds naturally. She went from taking 12 prescriptions to just 4. And perhaps most empowering of all, she no longer needed her walker. The first change was almost deceptively simple. Every morning at precisely 6 a.m., she would sit by her kitchen window facing the east. No sunglasses, no reading glasses. For exactly 15 minutes, she let the early sunlight hit her eyes while sipping 16 ounces of room temperature water. There's strong science behind this ritual. Morning light sends a signal to your body's master clock, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, telling it to regulate your daily hormones. It encourages cortisol at the right time and suppresses melatonin, helping the body wake up naturally. For older adults, whose circadian rhythms often weaken, this reset can make a huge difference. Before adopting this habit, Dorothy woke up 4 to 5 times a night, felt foggy in the mornings, and relied heavily on coffee and sleeping pills. Within 6 weeks, her sleep had stabilized. She was getting 7 full hours, waking up refreshed, and no longer needed medication to fall asleep. Her doctor was so impressed he removed her from sleep aids altogether. But there's an important catch. The light must reach your eyes directly. Glass or lenses reduce its effectiveness. And timing matters. It needs to happen within an hour of waking. If you don't have an east-facing window, even stepping outside for a few minutes can give your body the reset it needs. Let me know when you're ready for the next section. I can continue rewriting the rest of the story in this same warm, engaging tone. If stepping outside isn't possible, Dorothy suggests sitting near a bright window for 10 minutes or using a 10,000 lux light therapy lamp as a substitute. Even on overcast days, natural light has a far more powerful effect on your internal clock than indoor lighting ever could. After soaking in the morning light, Dorothy moves on to a practice that, while gentle, has had a profound effect on her mental and emotional well-being. Every morning, she sits quietly with a small notebook and writes down 3 things she feels grateful for. But she doesn't stop there. Each gratitude is tied to a vivid, sensory memory. Instead of writing something vague like, "I'm thankful for my family," she'll jot down something like, "I'm thankful for the sound of my grandson Noah's laughter when he found the music box I'd hidden in the cabinet. I can still hear how it echoed off the tile and see the surprise in his eyes." It may sound sentimental, but what she's doing is backed by powerful science. According to psychologist Dr. Rick Hansen, recalling positive experiences in detail activates the brain's reward pathways and helps strengthen emotional resilience. For older adults, this daily ritual does more than lift the spirit. It can actually reshape how the brain responds to stress and negativity. Dorothy first began this habit during a time when she felt completely invisible. "There were days I couldn't even name one thing to be grateful for," she recalls. "But then I noticed small things, the way the sunlight hit my kitchen counter, or the mailman's cheerful wave. My mind started tuning into those moments without effort. And the benefits extended beyond mood. Her memory started to sharpen. She found herself remembering people's names more easily, keeping track of where she'd placed things, and recalling details from conversations that used to slip away. Neuroscience confirms what she experienced. Engaging in rich, specific memory recall creates new neural connections and can improve cognitive function over time. For those with arthritis or vision limitations, Dorothy recommends saying the gratitudes aloud or using a voice note app. What matters most is the detail: the smell of cookies baking, the softness of a pet's fur, the warmth of a child's hand. Now here's the part that might surprise you. One of the habits Dorothy swears by is something most people do completely wrong, and it's probably costing you energy before your day even begins. Like many, she used to wake up and head straight for her morning coffee. But that single habit, she discovered, was draining her more than it was helping. Now, before she eats or drinks anything else, Dorothy starts her day with a glass of warm water mixed with a pinch of pink Himalayan salt and fresh lemon juice. That's it, simple, yet incredibly effective. Let me know when you'd like me to continue with the next habits. I'm ready to keep the story going. Why does this third habit matter so much, especially for older adults? After sleeping for 6 to 8 hours, the body wakes up in a state of deep dehydration. Blood becomes thicker, joints feel tighter, and the brain slightly contracts due to the lack of water. When caffeine hits this already depleted system, it pushes the adrenal glands into overdrive, elevating cortisol levels and increasing inflammation. Dorothy discovered just how much damage this was doing until she came across a traditional hydration ritual practiced for centuries by Okinawan elders. By simply changing the order of her morning routine, she saw remarkable results. Within 2 weeks, the morning stiffness in her joints began to fade. What once took hours of careful stretching now eased up within minutes. The warm water boosted circulation, the Himalayan salt restored essential minerals that are often lacking with age, and the lemon offered a gentle digestive kick along with a boost of vitamin C. Like many older adults, Dorothy worried about a common issue: frequent bathroom trips. "I thought I'd spend the whole morning running back and forth," she admitted. But surprisingly, the opposite happened. Her body adapted and began to absorb the water instead of just flushing it out. She discovered that the key lay in both timing and temperature. Room temperature or warm water hydrates more efficiently than cold, and by waiting half an hour before her first cup of coffee, her body had time to fully rehydrate before the caffeine took effect. To make the habit seamless, she prepares the drink the night before in a glass pitcher: water, lemon juice, and a pinch of pink salt. By morning, it's the perfect temperature. That pitcher serves as her visual reminder: before coffee, before food she drinks. If you're on medication, it's always wise to ask your doctor about timing, though most prescriptions are perfectly fine to take with this drink. So ask yourself, what's the first thing you drink when you wake up? Just changing that one step could be the shift your body's been needing. But what truly surprised Dorothy came next. Her fourth habit takes less than 2 minutes, yet it might be the most overlooked by people over 70, and skipping it could be putting them at serious risk. Before even setting foot on the ground, Dorothy takes a few quiet moments to gently wake up her body. It's not a workout. It's a soft, mindful warm-up for the day ahead. She learned this series from a mix of centenarian traditions and advice from physical therapists who specialize in fall prevention. "At my age, a fall isn't a small thing, it can change your whole life," she explains. And morning stiffness only makes that risk worse. Still lying in bed, she begins with ankle circleston in each direction for both feet. This helps restore circulation and activates the sensors that support balance. Then she gently pulls each knee toward her chest and holds for 15 seconds, easing tension in her hips. Next, she rolls her shoulders forward 10 times, then backward 10 times to undo years of built-up stiffness. She slowly turns her head from side to side, then looks up toward the headboard and down toward her toes. Finally, she does what she calls her wake-up wiggles, a soft, playful, full-body motion that tells her muscles, it's time to move. Ready to continue with the final habits? Let me know and I'll carry on with the same tone and style. She finishes her gentle stretch routine by wiggling her fingers, toes, and hands for about 30 seconds, a small but mighty action that gets her blood flowing and signals her body that it's time to move. The science behind this is powerful. During sleep, the fluid in our joints thickens, making those first steps feel stiff and unstable. These simple movements help lubricate her joints before she even leaves the bed. Dorothy's physical therapist was blown away by the improvements in her balance and mobility. But the real test came unexpectedly one autumn afternoon. As she walked out of the grocery store, she slipped on a patch of wet leaves. Years ago, that would have sent her straight to the ground. But this time, her body instinctively adjusted. Her hips moved fluidly to regain balance, and her enhanced proprioception, the body's ability to sense its position, kicked in. "That fall could have landed me in the hospital or worse," she said. "But this little morning routine quite literally saved me from months in a rehab center." What makes Dorothy's practice especially effective is how she adapts it. You don't have to do it perfectly. she often says. If she's having a stiffer day, she skips the shoulder rolls. If her hips feel tight, she replaces the knee pull with a gentle leg slide. For anyone with arthritis or limited mobility, the key is to listen to your body do what feels good and avoid anything that causes pain. Some mornings she completes the full 10-minute sequence. On others, she sticks to just the ankle rolls and finger wiggles. It's not about hitting a benchmark. It's about telling her body, I'm here and I'm ready. She even keeps a small timer by her bed so she never skips a beat. That simple habit turned into a powerful ritual that grounds her, both physically and mentally. Do you ever wake up feeling stiff or slow? How long does it take you to get moving? Share your experience, because what comes next might be the most surprising part of Dorothy's story. Her fifth and final morning habit is, in some ways, the most radical. It's not physical, it's emotional, and for Dorothy, it's been the most life-changing of all. Every morning, after her body is awake and her mind is clear, she sits for 5 minutes and writes down one specific way she will bring value to someone else's day. Not a vague intention like, I want to help people, but something concrete. I'll send a note to Susan about her new grandbaby, or I'll thank the pharmacist who always takes the time to explain things to me. Though it sounds simple, research shows that having a clear sense of purpose is one of the strongest predictors of longevity. When Dorothy began this habit, she felt lost. What could someone like me possibly offer? She thought. But one day, she called her neighbor Mrs. Lynn just to ask how her doctor's visit had gone. It seemed small, almost too small to matter. But Mrs. Lynn broke down in tears. No one else had remembered. That single phone call started a ripple effect. Soon, Mrs. Lynn was checking on Dorothy. Then Dorothy began reaching out to more neighbors, offering extras from her garden, lending advice to young teachers who reminded her of herself years ago. Within 6 months, Dorothy had become the quiet connector of her block, the one everyone turned to for a kind word, a thoughtful question, or a little encouragement. Let me know when you're ready for the final section of Dorothy's journey. I'll wrap up the story with the same heart and voice. The science behind this final habit is truly eye-opening. Research by Dr. Patricia Bowl at Rush University found that older adults who had a strong sense of life purpose experienced 44% less cognitive decline and were more than twice as likely to avoid Alzheimer's. The Blue Zone's research backs this up, showing that a clear daily purpose, what the Okinawans call ikigeiken, add up to 7 extra years of healthy life. But this isn't just about longevity. A sense of purpose helps reduce inflammation, boosts immune strength, improves sleep, and leads to greater life satisfaction. And in Dorothy's case, the shift was obvious to everyone around her. Her children noticed she was more upbeat and present during phone calls. Her doctor commented on her better posture and vibrant energy. Even the cashier at the grocery store said she looked like she was glowing from the inside out. The key is that Dorothy keeps it small, daily, and specific. Instead of vague intentions like, I want to help, she writes down concrete actions. Today I'll message Noah about his big math test, or I'll compliment the mail carrier who always takes time to wave. She keeps an ongoing list of thoughtful actions, calling someone who might be lonely, offering a recipe to a neighbor, sending a thank you note, or just sitting and listening with care. For those with mobility issues or limited social circles, Dorothy suggests doing this online. Leave a kind comment, send a voice message, or participate in virtual volunteer groups. The size of the gesture doesn't matter. Some days, she says, I just make eye contact and smile at people in the store. You never know who needs it. She writes her daily intention right below her gratitudes, in the same notebook. It has become her ritual own that gives structure to her mornings and meaning to her days. So how do you contribute to the lives of others? Whether big or small, your answer might just be the spark someone else needs. Dorothy's transformation isn't just inspiring, it's extraordinary. Picture this. At 85, she was on 12 medications, used a walker just to get around her home, and weighed 35 pounds more than she does today. She rarely left the house, barely spoke to her children, and spent most of her days parked in front of the television, lost in old memories and regret. Her A1C was dangerously high. She struggled with constant joint pain, and sleep only came with the help of pills. Now, at 94, everything has changed. She takes only 4 medications. She drives herself to volunteer 3 days a week. Her energy levels rival those of someone half her age. Her A1C? Down to 5.9, completely normal. She shed the extra weight, sleeps soundly without aids, and says her arthritis pain has dropped by 80%. But perhaps the most beautiful part of her transformation is how she's become the heart of her community. Dorothy now maintains friendships with more than 30 people. She mentors younger teachers online, tends to a shared garden in her neighborhood, and recently started learning Spanish just so she can connect better with her neighbors. If you've ever felt like it's too late to turn things around, let Dorothy be your proof. Small habits, done daily, can completely change a life. Not just in years added, but in joy restored. Would you like me to help you format this into a final video script, or turn it into a blog post layout? These days, Dorothy continues to surprise everyone around her. She mentors younger teachers through online communities, tends to a thriving neighborhood garden, and recently began learning Spanish to better connect with her Spanish-speaking neighbors. At a recent checkup, her doctor told her she has the cardiovascular health of someone in their 70s and cognitive sharpness well beyond her years. And here's the part that inspires everyone who hears her story. Dorothy didn't rely on expensive treatments or complex regimens. Her transformation came from 5 simple morning habits, each one working in harmony with the others. The light exposure gently reset her body's clock. Her gratitude and memory practice rewired her brain to see beauty and joy. Daily hydration soothed her joints and energized her mind. Gentle stretches protected her balance. And purposeful contribution gave her reason to greet each day with intention. Dorothy VO, I'm not just surviving anymore, she says with a smile. I'm truly living for the first time in years. So here's a gentle challenge for you. Choose just one of Dorothy's 5 morning habits and try it for a week. That's all. You don't need to change everything overnight. Dorothy didn't either. Start with the light ritual if you struggle with sleep. Try the hydration practice if your joints feel stiff. Give yourself the gift of just one consistent habit. And then notice. Do you feel a little more energized? More at peace? More hopeful? If Dorothy's journey reminded you that it's never too late to change not just your health, but your whole outlook on life, then share this story with someone who needs that encouragement. Because sometimes, the smallest daily actions are what end up transforming everything.